Under the curve tab, you can see like different groups, so 5 groups. The first one, I don't know, for me, it's like the most important one, which is analysis. It analyzes, like all of these are like commands that do some analysis on your curve. So we will get back to this. The division, if you want to divide your curve, many different methods of the division. Primitive, if you want to create new curves, new stuff, like for example, this one, we create a new circle, we can create a new ellipse or an arc or a rectangle or something. So that's under primitive. SP-line is these curvy lines and like polyline, basically from points. And utilities like modifications you can do on curves. For example, if one curve is like open, you can just join curves. Maybe here, like you can extend curve. Like if we will also like see these in detail. So these are like the modification.
Okay.
Let's start with the analysis. Since we are already like have created these curves and we will work with them. So I'm gonna delete the previous one, so I have better space here. We will start with this curve that we have, and we'll go to analysis. I will start like with the very basic thing, which is the length here.
Okay.
So if I just click the length and I link my curve, now I can see, like, for example, this component or this node takes in a curve. If I hover over like this value, I will see that it takes as input a curve and gives a length. But you see beside the word length, there is this 0.1 thing, which means that it gives a number, a float. It takes a curve, it gives a number. To view that number, let's double click and say panel and put it here.
Well, how do I disconnect
Using the control and drag back. Like this length is connected to that curve that we have referenced here. So if, for example, I just click on one point, change its location, I will see that my curve, for example, now got longer. So the length will directly change because it's connected to that. Yeah, this is like the basic thing that you can do with the curve. This curve middle component, let's see, curve midpoint. So if you put your curve, it will in the output now it's giving us a point. The difference is, like, as I mentioned before, this length now is a number, which is like 0.1, like the symbol of it is 0.1 because it's a number and you can see the number. But this component, the midpoint, it's given us, like you see this X symbol, it's a point. So now this output of this component, this node, is a point, not a number. So if I just bring in this to the panel, maybe make the panel a bit wider, it will give us the coordination of the bit, like X's, Y's, and Z's. So X minus 25, Y 61, Z is 0. So this is the location of my
coordinates.
This is another component or another analysis command that is mostly used. There is this also like different command. It's called endpoints. So if you see it, it's side like near the curve middle. It's called endpoints.
I see that. Okay.
If we link our curve to that, now we see it creates like 2 points, which is like one is the start, one is the end. It's also like the same symbol of X. That means it's a point. For example, if I want to do something with these points, I want something that happens on the start. For example, a circle. I'm just like trying stuff now, and in the plane of the circle, which is the base point of the circle, if I link this start and maybe give it 20 radius, it created a circle on our, like, this start point of our curve. So for example, if I do anything on the curve in Rhino, if I move it up, the circle will follow my curve. So because it's linked to that point. So even if I change the location of my start point, it will always create my circle. If you want to take out the control points, for example, because I have this curvy thing here, and I link my curve, it will show me that my curve has a lot of control points. If I take this out with these points and drag them into the circle component, I will see that it will create circle at each one of these points.
Wow, okay, cool.
Yeah. My curve now, let's say I change my curve, it's like all the circles will also change accordingly. Yeah, maybe not very useful, this control points thing in here, but it's there. Here, like the first groups is the control points, endpoints, curve middle, and so on. Here also, like, we have this component that is called closed. This only checks if a curve is closed or not. So if I plug my first curve here, and to see the result here, I will link to the panel. So it will say to me that false, like the curve that I'm checking, the curve that we have here, is not closed, since it only gives you like a false or true. For example, you remember the other curve that we created? It was a closed one. If we plug it here, now we'll see it's true. Yeah. This is also like a very important thing that you somehow like need to check if your like design is closed. If I don't plug anything, if I don't click anything on keyboard, so when you plug something, the other one goes away. But if you want to plug two of them, you use shift. So I will plug now the second using shift. Most of the time, this one is also like important, which is V-rip ring. Actually, when we link our curve here, it's still orange. It does not work. It waits from us like a parameter. Usually, this curve, because it's, you can think of it like it's between 0 and 1. So if I say double click and just to call a number, I would say 0.5 and link the parameter, I will see this plane here. Since our curve is a bit long, like for example, you have the length when we checked, it was like 130 or something.
Yeah.
So let us like number like 70, for example, in the parameter.
In the number slider. Okay. 70. Oops.
Yeah, I will
I don't know
choose
if I did
this.
that correct.
So it turns green.
Oh, oops. I think I'm doing. Let me try and get rid of this again. So curve parameter, and then this one was curve, or no, we have curve frame. We just needed a slider for that.
Yeah. Just
And that was, you said type in 70?
yeah.
Okay, and then slider 70 to parameter. Oh, curve parameter. Is that curve parameter? That's P frame. Mine says C and T.
C and T. I took it from this one.
Yeah, that's what I have. It just looks different. For some reason, it's calling parameter T on the
yeah.
left side.
So
curve.
Maybe you
Is there a way to change how it looks? Because
I think
right now,
display here, you say this, draw full names. Yeah.
And then display. Yeah, okay. That's better. Parameter. This is gonna help me.
Yeah.
Oops. All right. So I'm trying to get to. Oops. So I've got my number slider connected to parameter, but I'm not seeing.
Maybe it's a small thing. If you choose or select this node,
Okay.
it will blink as green.
Oh, from the top it's sideways. Okay, so if I need to see in perspective. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So if I just click that. Yeah, okay.
So
There it is.
what it does basically, it creates plane. It creates like an invisible mathematical thing that looks like a plane here. You can see that. That's the symbol of the plane. But it creates it like to be perpendicular to this curve, to at this point. So if now, because I have plugged it at 70, for 70, so as you see, like this perpendicular frame or like perpendicular plane is moving. So if I take it back to 0, this is my perpendicular
starting point.
If now I want to plug this frame into the circle, you can see it creates the circle perpendicular this time. Just to show the difference, I will re-plug the previous one, which is only the start point. So if I create a point, like a circle at the start point, it will not be perpendicular usually. It will be as this. It's just like a point on the curve. So the circle itself was a curve. Because I created on one point. For example, if I go with the midpoint, I have the midpoint here. If I plug it in the circle will be created on the middle, but it will not be perpendicular. While if I plug this frame thing, the perpendicular frame on the circle, it will create it on the different plane. What this parameter means, it means like the length, because if let's just check the length again. My curve is about like 312. So and my slider here is only 100. So the length, I can make it up to 1 point. But there's a different solution. I can make it easier if I just delete this parameter. If I right click on this curve, you can see here this function here. It's called reparameterize. Now this component will deal with our curve not as from 0 to 300, which is the length, but it will deal with the curve as from 0 to 1. So it's easier for us to, that's why if I double click, I say 0.55, for example. and plug this here. Now I have the 0 is the start point and 1 is the end point. These are the main tools in the analysis group. You can, like, using these last two. So point in curve, it just checks, because we are in analysis, so it analyzes if some points are encircled in the curve or not. So now it's asking me for, like, as input, it's asking me for points and curves. So curves, it needs actually a closed curve, so we can link this one, the closed curve.
Okay.
But for the point, we don't have points yet. Let's go to the Rhino and create a set of random points. So I will use this here, single point, using the right click. If you just click on top of it with the right click, so you can put random points. Let's link or reference these points into Grasshopper. So I will come to Grasshopper, go to the parameters, this geometry points, because we're dealing with points, and I'll put it here, because again, it's only a container, as we said, like, these here all are like containers would come empty. I will have to right click and say set multiple points. If you want to bring points, you use this. If you want to bring curves, like we did previously, we use this. If maybe surfaces, you use this. Right click on the point one, and I would say set multiple points.
Okay.
When I say it again, it will hide everything. So I will just choose or select all of my points and hit enter. Now we linked our points. Now we can just plug these points into this component. Again, this component only, like, checks if a point in curve or not. So to see the result, we will also need a panel, and let's check the relationship. If you hover over this relationship output, it gives you like an explanation there. It's saying that it's assigned like a 0 number for each point that is outside the curve, and a number of like 1 to be coincident, which is like on the curve itself, and number 2 if the point is inside. Like, one way to divide to separate your curves, like, or points. So we can use a component after that tells Grasshopper that only take for me the points that have value of 2, which are like the points that are inside. So you can deal with only the points inside and so on. But that will be like a bit complex. Now we can leave it for later. From the curve panel, from the analysis group, I believe these are the main things, like the main components or commands that are used. Then step to the next one.